Hey everybody. So this is going to be part of my getting ready for track day videos. If you haven't watched any of the other ones, I've been wanting to do a track day for over 30 years now. I just was never able to for a variety of reasons. Money, my bike was my only transportation, so I couldn't risk crashing it, stuff like that. So I'm finally in a position where I can do it, and that's the bike I want to do it on. That's kind of why I rebuilt this bike. I'm still planning on making a video someday of telling you everything I've done to it, but till then, just know that I've done a total tear down, rebuild, upgrade, modification on this bike. But my main goal was to take it on the track, and I couldn't do that last year because of COVID. Everything was shut down for the most part. So I kind of have the bike set up, you know, cafe racer-ish style. But now I'm going to do some mods to make it more track ready. Some of the things I like to do, not saying I can get every one of these things done. It's right now, it's beginning of March. Track days start mid-May. I only have one day off a week until mid-April. So, that being said, I want to make some brackets, install some rear sets. I want to, what else do I want to do? I was thinking about making some crash bars, but I don't think I'm going to do that. Fresh tires, these are Pirelli Sport Demons, which should be pretty good for the track. They don't really make too many things in these sizes for the track, so these are maybe the best I can get, at least for now. And another thing I really want to do is lower the front end just a little bit, not a ton, but just a little bit, and then install a steering damper and bracket. I don't have the damper and bracket yet, but I can lower the front end. I'm thinking about a 1/2 inch. I have this space right here between the bars and the fork tubes. I could probably get away with 1 inch, but I want to do a 1/2 inch. I don't want to overdo it and then have too much loss of control or steering too fast or what have you. Anyway. Keep in mind too, it's almost 1 a.m. I just got home from work a little while ago, and because I only have the one day off a week for a while, I'm trying to get as much stuff done as I can. So I don't know that I'll finish the whole thing right now, but I'm at least going to get started with getting the fender off, getting the wheel out. I also have to, you know, loosen the triple tree bolts, and I also need to move the headlight down because I'm going to move the forks up. Anyway, I'll put you on the tripod, and I'll get started and see how far I get before I want to go to bed. Alright, hang on, I'll be back. Alright, first things first, the fender's got to come off, as well as on both sides, because I converted this to a dual front disc. I gotta get the hanging brackets off that hold the steel braided brake lines in. So let me get to that. I don't remember what size the bolts are underneath the fender, but I'll get these off first. I can't spin it. It's caught. Shit. Alright. It's tight. I don't want to scratch things up either. There we go. Yeah, this bike originally from the factory came with a single front disc and caliper, but the forks, I think most of the KZs were made like this. At least the larger displacement ones. Definitely on the 900s and the 1000s. They had the bosses on the fork legs for putting on a second rotor and caliper. You just have to have the correct caliper and bracket, hanging bracket, because they're different for each side. Okay, that one's off. The other one. But you know, over the years I've been riding KZ 900s for since like the 90s, and all stemming from my love of Mad Max. Anyway, and excuse me, I've collected parts over the years for those bikes, and I happen to have a spare right side caliper and pair of discs. So, oh, that's another thing with my track day mods. I may end up taking the rotors off, maybe not this season, maybe next season, but having them drilled out or water jetted with holes, front and rear, partially weight reduction, partially get rid of water faster, partially cool faster. Alright, those are both loose. Now, taking a quick peek under here, I'm gonna guess these are a 12 or a 13. Let's see which one. I'm gonna grab the 12, but I think it's a 13. Yep, it's a 13. Yeah, you can lift the bike up really high, especially because it's a short fender, and but because I want to slide the fork tubes up anyway, it's just easier to get the fender off and slide each tube up separately. Right. This fender I think is off of a KZ 650. The stock fender for this bike was very long and had braces here. This bike was kind of made as like a standard, you know, or like a little bit of their cruiser idea in the sense of the smaller rim in the back and the larger rim in the front. That was kind of the aesthetic back then. So that's another reason it's harder to find tires, especially the front, because it's a 19-inch in the front. Nowadays, I think they're 16 and 17. But anyway, I think I like the look of this fender better. Man, that's tight. I don't think I Loctited those. No. Try and get it from this side. My worry is I don't want to slip and scratch the powder coating off of my rotor. I mean my caliper. There we go. Okay, now let's go. This should work. There we go. Woohoo! Hoppa. It's late, I'm tired. That's why I might not do all of this. I need to be a little fresh and sharp. Plus I gotta sleep so I can work tomorrow. I work as a mechanic all day, not on motorcycles or cars, but on building. So a lot of times I'm wrenching all day. So wrenching at night can be a bit much, but I do love doing this. So it's kind of different than what I do at work and what I get out of it. If you don't have ratcheting box end wrenches. I have to say, I think they're one of the best investments you could make. I love them. You have to be careful though if you're like if you have to put a lot of pressure on breaking loose bolt or something, you can break the ratcheting in there, that it'll pop out. I've had that happen. But you can still get some pretty good torque on them. Alright, should I fast forward this part or just keep going? I'll just keep going. Maybe I'll fast forward it in post-production. And these fenders as well, they have a extra piece of steel across here, so they also function like a fork brace, which is important. So a lot of times, you know, you see a lot of people building cafe racers, modern style ones, where they slam the forks all the way up, or cut them, you know, and so you have about that much suspension, that much, and also no front fender, which looks really cool, but you may need a fork brace in there to stiffen up your forks, and B, you just get splashed in the face with mud and dirt constantly. So I like four-man function. Like, that stuff looks really cool, but I don't feel like getting splashed in the face all day, because I ride a lot and I ride in all sorts of weather, you know, so I want it to work right too. Alright, one more to go. I don't know if you can hear the music in the background. That's my favorite Greek singer, Stelios Kazadzidis. I just love his music. Passionate, meaningful. That's music of my parents' generation when they were in their 20s. Like, this is from the 50s, 60s. He actually was a premier singer from the 50s till the early 2000s, or until the mid 2000s when he passed away. All right, fender out. There we go. That's off. I won't deny, that looks cool, right? But, you know, if you want a face full of schmutz, your choice. Okay, battery's dying, let me swap it out. Alright, I moved you to the other side because next I need to take off the calipers. But prior to that, I want to also disconnect the Speedo cable. Comes down, fed through there, and is attached right there. So I'm just going to carefully grab it with my channel lock and loosen it. I'm trying not to chew up the ridges on it. It's really nice on this bike, knock on wood. The Speedo and the tack work quite well. They don't bounce around. Ooh, there's something in there. Can you see that? Like a rubber seal that seems to have gotten chewed, perhaps? And here I was saying how great this works and it doesn't leak. Huh. I'll revisit that when I put it back together. I'm not worried about it right this second. I don't remember there being a rubber seal in there. Huh, interesting. At first I thought it was like some kind of detritus. Okay, so that's there. Next, calipers. Typically, like on a car, you'll undo the calipers and then hang them from a bungee cord or something, not to kink the line or anything, but these should be fine just hanging because of the steel braided lines, and they're just gonna hang straight down. There's no weird bends or anything. I like to put all the bolts back where they came from, so I try and keep them in a way that reminds me where they came out. In other words, I want that top one to go back in the top, bottom one in the bottom. It's kind of just a personal preference of mine. These bolts, you always got to make sure they're the right ones and the right length, because they screw in to the caliper mounting bracket. This bracket right here, this is threaded. If these are too long, they stick out the back and then they dig into your rotors. So you always want to be really careful about those. It's a good chance too to take a look at my brake pads, which they look fine. I got plenty of brakes left. That's fine, right? Okay, let me do the other side. You can stay there. Maybe I'll back you out a little. Oh, that's not out, that's in. All right, other side. Everything on here, I'm religious about torquing things, using the manual. Anyone that's been watching some of my other videos, I mention the manual a lot. So everything's going to come out like it should, and then it's going to get torqued back in, proper torque spec. The manual will also tell you if it requires any kind of special lubricant or thread locking agent or sealant or anything else of that nature. Alright. Pull that one off. And I took my measurements, and we have a local shop in Albuquerque called Action Hose. I gave them the measurements and they made steel braided brake lines for me with the ends that I needed for the front and the rear. So that was really nice, kind of a while you wait custom application. It was well worth it, not crazy expensive. Okay, what's next? The wheel has to come off. There are two nuts under here holding this axle clamshell. I'm sleepy. Clamping. Yep. This. All right. Two nuts here, two on the other side, and then I'm gonna get my scissor jack and lift the bike up to easily pull the wheel out. All right. After that, I may lower it back down just to do the fork stuff. Okay. Let me get a socket for that. I think there are 12. I guess I could use, no, 13. 13. I'm going to use my box and wrenches again. Maybe not. Yes. For removing. For installing, I'm going to definitely use my torque wrench. never quite understood when people just put stuff together and don't use a torque wrench. I mean, certain things you can, but certain things that are like this. Anyway, okay. So that's the first one off. I want to show you guys something very important with these. So this is like that, you know, sits under here, holds the spacers of the axle. Very important. There's a little arrow. Can you see that arrow? It's pointing up. You want that arrow to point forward, like so. This arrow here, that way, it would go on just like that. Why? This looks the same, but it's not. And you want, when you tighten these, here, let me show you on the bike. There's a little gap that's left in the back. So when this is torqued properly, that little gap is there. Acts like a pinch to make sure you're holding on to the axle well and properly. You don't want them to face the wrong direction. They are directional. It tells you that in the manual. Here's another thing I do, because I'm going to be manipulating the forks. There's a good chance they may fall. I'll show you on the other side, but the studs sticking out of the bottom of the forks, they're threaded studs. I'm going to put the nuts back on to cover the end of those studs, because in case the fork slips and hits the ground, it'll hit the nut, not the stud, so it won't ruin the threads potentially. Does that make sense? Now I'll show you on this side. And I don't just like to loosen one, you know, crack one, then the other one, and then take them off. Oh, I love these old Kawasaki KZs. I just love them. I absolutely love them. They've been the center of my life since my early 20s. Earlier in the sense of I liked them earlier. I got my first one when I was 23. Maybe I was 24. Alright, so that came out, right? So can you see these studs? Let me bring it in. So, the studs here, I'm just taking the nut and the washer that's with it, just so they stay together. That's got something on it. And I'm just gonna screw it on to protect that thread. I don't want it to stick out of the bottom. So now these nuts, I put it on enough so that it won't. My camera just stops filming sometimes. I screw these on enough so that there's no thread sticking out of the bottom, but it's just almost ready to pop out. This way, this is on there. It has a nice purchase too. If nice purchase. I don't know if you saw that. So if this thing falls, the nut won't like tweak or bend off of the shaft, you know, and ruin the threads as well. So I'm going to do that to both sides. Again, it's just precautionary. Alright, that's that. Okay, next I'm going to get my jack. So I can, the bike's on the center stand, but that's not quite enough. Got to jack that up just enough to pull that wheel out. Alright, let's put you on a pause and I'll bring you back. Okay, jack is under there, but I'm going to show you what I'm doing as well. But before I jack it up, I put it in the first gear, and then I have this thing I use as a wheel chock, and push it under there so that when I lift the front off the ground, it won't roll backwards, right? And then here, let me show you underneath. Maybe I need a flashlight. Maybe not. So I got my jack set up. If you look, can you see? Can you see better? So I have these nylon inserts, right? And you see how they have a cutout? That's supposed to be for the frame tubes right here. But the exhaust pipes hang lower than the frame tubes, so I don't have access to the frame tubes. And you definitely do not want to jack the bike up by the exhaust pipes because you'll crush them. So I leave the nylon in there, and then if you see, I'm going, you see these ribs here for the oil pan? That cutout is kind of the perfect size, so it's the ears, let's call them, are on either side of those two ribs. Same thing on this side. I just like using the nylon because it's nylon to aluminum rather than metal to metal. So if I had a block of wood that was just this big, I might use that instead, but this works just fine. I've done it before. So let's start lifting slowly. I've got my 1-inch socket on there. Alright, now I'm gonna stand up, or kneel I should say, because I need to kind of see what's going on with the bike. Let me put you back on the tripod, but I just wanted you to see how I was setting up the jack. So let's go back this way. Are you enjoying Stelios Kazadzidis in the background? Huh, maybe over here. It's better. Alright. If anyone here is a Stelios Kazadzidis fan, please make sure and tell me. Alright. Can you see? I just want to be in a position where I can hold on to the bike a little. And by the way, with the calipers off, don't press the lever. You'll do that with the pads. You can undo it, but you're just kind of causing a problem. So look here, you'll see how the forks are rising up over the axle. Going carefully. My center stand is now off the ground. Bike is a little shaky. Making sure everything is copacetic. Looks okay. A little at a time. No need to go nuts. Oh, and it's a good, don't stand on your knees. Totally. Kind of ready here. I can get some little leverage with my legs if I have to. Bike's a little shaky, but nothing horrible. Oh, the nuts. Sorry kids. Forgot. The nuts are in the way. I'll have to take them off and then put them back on after the wheel is off. It's been a little while since I've done this. But I still will put them on after the wheel's off. So when I do move the forks, they're protected. See, stuff like this happens. I've done this so many times, but it's been a while. You forget. It's just how it is. Can I get it out now? Just a little bit more. Just a smidge. Perhaps now, maybe that. Alright. Wheel is out. Keep my calipers from clacking together. All right, let me just grab a rag. So as I'm doing my work later, they don't keep fitting together like kabangers. Remember kabangers? All right, now I'm gonna put these back on. I could even go so far as to do this, and that'll protect all of the threads. I don't foresee anything happening, but you never know. And then when everything's apart too, before I put it all back together, I'm going to take a peek at the calipers, take a closer look at my brake pads, check, make sure the bearings are free, which they should be. I replaced all of that new when I rebuilt the bike. But you know, you still want to check. I'll have to check out what's up with that speedometer cable and a piece of rubber. See if I can get away with not replacing it, or if I have to replace it, if such a thing exists, or what. Right? So, okay, that's done. That's done. Calipers are protected. Nice. So the next step would be, you know, I want to get some fork guards for here too. This would be a good time to do that, but I don't have them. So next step would be loosen that, loosen that, loosen this. I think what I'm going to do is loosen the ears. Can you see me? Barely. All right. I'm going to loosen the ears up just so they're loose. And then I think I'll call it a night. I'll do this part at another time, or maybe not. We'll see. All right. All right. I'll be right back. I got to grab my Allen wrenches. All right. First thing I want to do is I have a magic marker, or I guess they're called Sharpies these days, and I just want to draw a line right at the bottom here of the headlight ears, so that I can then measure down from there however much I decide to push these up. I'm thinking a ½ inch, but it might end up being 3/4. I don't know. So it'll be easier if I just mark the line there, fine tip Sharpie, right? I'm also going to mark the center gap where it pinches, because when I set the headlight, it's easy to do that by mistake. Make sense? All right. Another one here. That. The nice thing with the Sharpie is it comes right off with a little card cleaner. Or your finger. It's not dry yet. All right. That's that. Now, I already have my 5mm Allen. There's basically 2 Allen bolts in this way and 2 in that one that pinch it together. So I'm just gonna loosen those, which I've done many times before in repositioning this light. Enough to be able to slide it after I'm done moving the forks. do. And I have enough room here that I can move the forks up and still not have to move these yet. I'm gonna do the other side. No need for you to watch all of that. I'll be back. You hang out. Okay, before I start, these were easy to loosen, but these are torqued on pretty good. I want to lower the bike back down so it's sitting on its center stand rather than on the jack, because the jack's holding it, but I don't want to torque too much and knock it over by mistake or what have you. And plus, you know, when I'm manipulating the forks. So I'm just going to carefully lower this. Make sure the center stand is fully engaged, which it is. The spring hasn't pulled it up. Everything seems to be okay. Looking at the center stand and doing that reminds me of Space 1999. So I'm not going to completely get rid of this because I don't want the front end to fall down, right? But now it's a lot more stable. It's sitting on the center stand, and the jack still has contact, so it's not going to let it fall forward. All right, you with me? Am I with me? So now I can loosen. I'm going to loosen the top triple clamp bolt first, just because it's a little harder to access, and then I'll do the bottom. I'll do one side first, then the other. Let me show you this before I do anything else. So basically, top triple clamp bolt just kind of pinches it together there. Bottom triple clamp bolt, same thing. And then the top of my fork, this is actually a plastic or rubbery type of cap, and the top of the forks actually sit down into the triple tree just a little bit. We're talking like a couple millimeters if I remember correctly. Let me carefully pry that up without, fell out. See, it's just a kind of flexible rubber, and it sits inside of that. All right, so it's just below the surface. That's what the manual calls for. Or in another way to say it, this is stepped right here, and that's to accommodate the thickness of this cap. And the top of the I keep saying triple. Top of the fork leg cap sits flush with the bottom of this shoulder, and then you've got a little space up there. Okay, makes sense? All right, let me put you back on here. All right, let me aim you. Bring it a little closer maybe. How about that? Good? I'm not sure which extension I'm gonna need. I'll try the longer one first. I've got the master cylinder kind of in the way, but I think I can clear it. See, that's too long. I'm hitting the headlight bucket. So let's try the shorter extension, which is in my pocket. Nice. I'm just clearing the headlight bucket. I don't want to scratch it at all, like not even a little bit. What I can do actually, hang on, hang on, hang on. case I do slip. I don't have to remove it, I just have to loosen it. So it takes the pressure off of the fork. That's plenty good. And then 17 millimeter on the bottom. There we go. Now I can twist and lift the fork as necessary, as much as I want to, right? So that's good. I've got my metal ruler here. I don't necessarily need that part. I just want to make sure they have to be perfectly even when you lift them. Because I haven't taken these ears off, I think it feels like I may have to do each one at the same time, or do one then the other, then back and forth, which is a bit more than my brain can handle at the moment. So I think I will leave this be. Leave it be. Leave it be. And do the rest tomorrow, perhaps. Yeah. Because I'm feeling a bit fuzzy and tired now. So, just for the sake of you never know, I'm gonna snug this down just enough that the fork can't move. Because I'm paranoid. That's fine. I can't turn it by hand. Alright, my calipers are still safe. I'll take that off of there because it's dirty. The bike is stable. Alright, so I'm going to say goodbye for now, and I will turn you back on when I continue doing that. Some other stuff I just remembered. The mirrors will have to come off. I'm going to put some bar end weights that I have. I have these foam grips on the rubber grips. That's coming off. I'd like to switch my grips out though with something a little more squishy. Need to adjust my throttle cable. But I'll make videos of all this stuff as I'm prepping. Alright. Thanks for watching up till now, and I'll bring you back when I keep going. Alright, have a great night everybody. Bye bye. Hey, pardon the noise in the back, it's my furnace. It's a couple days later for me. It's a split second later for you. It's now daytime. I'm getting ready to go to work, but I have about 45 minutes. So I want to attempt to raise the forks. I marked these, but I'm also going to take a measurement here. In case I lose my mark, I'll just know what that measurement is, and then I can play with that. Right. So I haven't moved the left. Ooh, sorry. You okay? I bumped into you. You alright, huh? I haven't moved this fork leg yet, so I have the luxury of taking that measurement. Looks like it's 1 3/8. 1 3/8. I may go down a little more with that anyway, just because it will look better. Let me write that down. Okay, and then I was measuring here. I've got about an inch and 5/8. I'm gonna just go up an inch. I was gonna do a 1/2 inch, but I'm gonna go an inch. I tightened these the other day. Let me loosen them. I just need as much play as possible. No need to scrape things or what have you. I'm gonna loosen the other side too. God damn it. Ooh, did I just say God damn it? Am I allowed to curse? Sorry. Alright. And then this side. A little crunchy. That's a little crunchy. Ooh, that one's sliding. Alright, so that's a good sign, I guess. Let me snug that up just a little. I didn't bring my ruler. I didn't think it would be that easy. One moment, Pianos. I can see a little line right here where it was sitting. I guess like dust. Can you see what I'm doing? Should you want to come in a little? Yeah. All right. Got my steel rule. That makes it official. Now these have to be exactly the same height. That is, pardon me, about 5/8. Need a little bit more. Loosen that again. I mean, after this is all said and done, I'm going to have to test ride it. Make sure I haven't made the steering too quick. Right, that's exactly 1 inch. Just gonna snug that down. Because that would be drastic as far as changing my steering geometry, because I'm not lowering the back either. Right? Want the nose to be down a little. Let's see. Let me verify. Exactly 1 inch. Yes. Okay. I'm not torquing that yet. Just holding it snug. I just don't want it to move at all. Alright, but just snug, not torqued. Okay, let's do the other side. See if this side was as easy. Oh, it did. That side slid down too. How awesome is that? And that's why I tightened it overnight, if you remember, just to be safe. One more. We're talking a hair. Right there. Nice. Okay, just to be the same, I want to put this cap back in because it helps me differentiate between the top of the cap and so now I'm just double checking. It's a hair above an inch. Talking about literally a hair. That's exactly 1 inch. Okay. This one's got to come down the tiniest bit. But it's imperative. You can't mess around with these measurements. I'd like to just loosen it enough where it'll move, but stay put at the same time. I'm spinning it as I'm raising and lowering it. It makes it easier. Exactly 1 inch. Exactly. And you don't want to look at it from up here. You want to be at the same level so you can really see. Oh, it's got to come up the tiniest bit. Tiniest bit. Oh, too tight. I mean, I'm talking the hair, but it makes a difference. It matters. Right there. Perfect. Beautiful. Beautiful. That's it. All right. I'm going to take a look from the side, but I don't think I'll really be able to see a difference. I mean, as far as how it's going to stand. Maybe a little bit. All right, let me grab my torque wrenches. I want to tighten those down and find out the torque specs in the book, the manual. The other thing you want to be careful, you don't want to shove your forks too high up through the triple trees and lower the front too much, because there are, you know, your fender could possibly hit the horn. Can you see me? Oop, my battery's gonna, let's see if I can get that info in real quick. You might hit the horn with the fender, or this is longer than usual because I doubled it up and have a double banjo bolt in there rather than a splitter. You know, you have to be aware of that. Also, it could come back and possibly hit the pipes, the headers, depending on how much your headers stick out. So I have to check all that stuff out afterwards. All right, let me change battery and I'll bring you back. It's funny, I got some comments on some of my recent videos that I should refer to the manual for torque specs and what kind of locking agents, etc. you may need. I do that all the time, so I don't know. Sometimes I have to edit my videos and you don't see every little thing, and I might cut out where I mention that, but here's my Kawasaki KZ750 motorcycle service manual, and I'm on page 203 in the appendix. Front fork clamp bolts, upper 11.5 to 16 foot-pounds. They also give you the metric. And below that, for the lower, 25 to 33 foot-pounds. I tend to kind of try and split it somewhere in the middle depending on the situation. Alright, just wanted you to see that. Yes, I use the manual. Yes, I check my torque specs. But thank you for pointing it out. Okay, I'll be back. Hang on. Now I'm going to start with the bottoms. It says 25 to 33. Split that in half. It's about 29. I'm going to go to 30. But I haven't used this torque wrench in a while. It's cold. I've always been taught that they need to kind of be warmed up, primed, whatever you want to call it. One method, which I already did, is you loosen the lock screw on the bottom, tighten it up all the way and loosen it to its lowest setting 3 or 4 times. I did that, but what I'm also going to do is I'm going to start at 10 foot-pounds, let it click a few times. I'll move up to 20 and then I'll go up to 30. Okay, so for anyone that doesn't know, numbers are on here. This says foot-pounds. The camera probably won't pick it up. You screw this handle in, you loosen the bottom lock screw, and then you screw the handle in clockwise to go tighter or more foot-pounds, counterclockwise for less foot-pounds. When you get to the hash mark you want, showing the foot-pounds you want, you tighten the bottom screw, and then you slowly start tightening, everything has to stay level and even. You don't want it tweaked like this or that. And there's a pivot here that it'll break away and when you hit your appropriate torque. Now this is a long torque wrench. 10 foot-pounds is nothing for this. You have to be kind of pay attention to what it's doing. See, I'm already at 10 foot-pounds with how I tightened it before. So I let it click a few times. Can you see that? See that clicking? Let me zoom you in a little, just so you see it. Ready? So I'm gonna tighten this. That little click. I'm at 10 pounds. Make sense? Okay, let me go to 20 and then 30. So I unscrew this to loosen it. And then I spin this dial. It's on 0. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 10. And then the next setting is 20 foot-pounds. Okay, I'm at 20. Wow, it's already at 20. Isn't that funny? You know what I'm gonna do is loosen that and then do it again by with the torque wrench. Because I want to trust that it is reading properly. I'm just making sure the top one's tight for now. It's not. Because I don't want to loosen the bottom one and have the fork slide on me. Right? Makes sense? Have I thanked you all for watching in a while? No? I really appreciate it. You really do keep me company when I'm in the garage. So you don't want to use your torque wrench to loosen stuff. Use your regular ratchet or wrench or box wrench. Okay, I'm gonna go right to 20 because I feel like I've prepped my torque wrench. So slowly, smoothly, keeping it perpendicular to the bolt and the axis of the turning. Okay, I'm at 20. Let me up it to 30. See how that goes. Oh, getting a call. Sorry about that. And so I don't want to start down here. I want to bring it up to a point where I'll have a nice even play. Alright, I clicked, a couple extra clicks. So that's at 30 foot-pounds. That is spec, right? Now, I'm going to take my smaller torque wrench and do the top one. But now that the bottom one's torqued, I'm going to loosen the top one a little, just so I make sure I'm not already past my torque. Right? And then the torque spec on that one we said was 11.5 to 16. So say 14. Did you say 14? I did. So I'm gonna warm this up like the other one. Okay, you can watch. I just don't want my videos to get too long or tedious. So I loosened that. Now I'm going to screw it all the way in. And back out. But you don't want to go past its lowest setting. And then back in. And out. And back in. So this is a lower torque spec, so I'm going to go to 14. So can you see that? There's a 4 on there. So it's at 10 plus 4 is 14. Tighten that up, lock it in. This might be a little tricky with the, I'm going to have to move over here. So now with the extension, it's easy to kind of do this. You want to be straight on. Nice even pulls. There we go. 14. Did you notice, like, as it was getting tighter and I felt I was getting closer, I kept pulling gradually and evenly. You don't want to like get it to like 13 and a half and then the next turn it clicks. You want it to click with a nice pull on it so you know for sure. Okay, let me measure just to quadruple check that we're at the right height. Perfect. Okay, now I'm going to do the other side. It's the same thing. You don't have to watch it. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be back. All right, next I have to put the wheel back in. So I didn't remove the axle spacer nuts, so nothing has to happen there. I'm making sure the threads are clean on the where the clamps go, and they are on both sides. The other thing, you don't want to goof and put the wheel back in backwards. There's not an issue here because my Speedo drive gear is on the left side of the bike. But you do want to make sure the Speedo drive is in place. Normally I would pop this stuff out, you know, if anything needed grease or whatever, but there's very few miles on this, so I'm okay with that. What I am going to do is split the calipers, get one on either side. Alright, everything looks good. Excuse me. Now I just have to slowly and carefully jack the bike back up so I can get the wheel in place. Making sure nothing has shifted or moved, but I'm holding on for the sake of just in case something goes screwy. Just enough I can roll it in. There we go. And then I'll lower it back down so it sits in the right place, so I don't have to lift the wheel while trying to clamp it, you know, or at least not that much. Careful not to hit the mounting studs. And then you need the fork to sit on the inside of that head of that nut. That's important. That one looks good. Let me check the other side. Sometimes you gotta give them a little pull, but these look okay. I'm happy with that. What I'm checking is, here, maybe I'll show you. On the other side, where the Speedo drive gear sits. Hopefully you can see that. I gotta lay down to show you. Speedo drive gear, there's a little tab that's cast into it, and then there's a little tab on this side of the fork leg. You want the tab on the drive gear to turn and then touch that, so that as the wheel is spinning, that can't go forward. If you put it in front of it, when you took off, that thing would spin, it would break your speedo cable, etc. Make sense? Okay, so this is what I was talking about. The head of that nut has to be on the outside of that. Okay, same thing on the other side. Pardon me. Sorry if I seem a little rushed. It's just I want to get to a certain stopping point before I have to go to work. Okay. Just wipe that down a little. Down in there. Now, clamps. I mentioned before there's an arrow according to the manual, because I have read it. These have to point forward. You slide this on. You first tighten the front nut. It says 11.5 to 16. I'm going to go to 14. Then you tighten the rear nut, and you should then have a gap in the rear. So, excuse me. Making sure everything's clean in there, there's no debris, there's no rust, or oxidation in this case. Okay, that's sitting well on the axle nut. It's not binding anywhere. I'll take the front nut. These nuts are directional, so pardon me. And I'll put the rear one on. I won't have it completely loose, but I'm not going to tighten it too much either. Eventually I want to take these rotors off and get them drilled or weather jetted. Okay, torque wrench, 14, then 14. Actually, oh, it's time to go. No, I'm going to finish this. Let me put this one on too. Arrow pointing forward. Clean. On there. Got the front nut on. Got the rear nut on. Okay, now that everything's kind of held in place, I'm going to lift that up a little again to get the front wheel just off the ground. So now gravity's going to help me make sure everything is well seated, not torqued, not tweaked. Make sense? Ever so slightly. It's easier this way now than if I tried to hold that up and get those nuts on, and you know what I mean? Okay. Everything looks good to me. Starting with the front. Nice, even, easy pulls. Getting close now. 14. Nice, and then the rear. I can feel it getting close. I didn't like that. See how like I reached the stopping point and then when I reset and pulled it clicked immediately? I'm not happy with that. I don't trust that it's not over tightened now. So what I'm going to do is loosen it a bit. And then go back and retorque it. I mean, these are crucial measurements, right? The trick is holding the wheel from turning while tightening. There we go. See how like I had a nice gradual pull and then it clicked. Also, don't hold it from here. You want to hold it from the end. Right, so that one's done. I'm gonna do the other side and then call it a day because I have to finish getting ready to go to work. We'll come back and install the calipers, install the fender, and then take a peek. All right, see you in a bit. Yeah, I just wanted to show you. So now that they're all torqued down, like it says in the manual, once they are, you should have a gap in the rear, which is what I do on both sides. Made sure the arrow was pointing forward. Now, just for the heck of it, I'm just gonna slide these on, just so they're kind of not hanging so much from the cables anymore. And I'll, pardon me, I'll just temporarily put the bolts in just to kind of hold it in place. And again, you want to make sure these bolts aren't too long, because if they are, they'll hit your rotor and gouge it. Don't ask me how I know that from 25 years ago. Okay, that's just in, that's fine. I'll do the other side. All right, okay, have a great day. I gotta go to work. Oh, you didn't see any of that. Sorry. I put those two bolts in just very loosely, just to hold everything in place so that the calipers aren't hanging anymore. Right, do the other side and come back maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. Keep going. All right, have a great day. I'm going to work. Talk to you later. Hey, it's the next morning. I didn't sleep much. I'm tired, but I want to get this done. So I'm going to torque up the front calipers according to the manual. 25 to 33 pounds. So I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to put the fender on, tighten all that up by hand, install the brake line mounting brackets, these things, right? And then I got to sort out what that little rubber deal is on the Speedo. I don't remember there being a washer or some kind of grommet there. We'll see, but I'll speed this all up. I'm just tightening stuff, but I figured you should see it. Okay, so enjoy. Over here, there's a little play in the fender, so I want to have it so it's as even in the front and back as I can get it. I had to re-drill holes because this was for a KZ650. It's a little different in the front. This, with the original hole, sat kind of up here. I drilled new holes so I can lower it, but still have room under the tire for expansion when it heats up. So, yeah, so that's what I was doing there, okay? back to fast forward. This bike actually came with only one bracket on the other side, which has a secondary loop here for the speedo cable. This is another left side. This is another left side bracket. I just cut off that extra loop and smoothed out the edges a little. So now I have a right side loop as well, because I mentioned I added this second caliper, right? So I needed something as a brake line guide. I need a socket. I'm still in my pajamas. That's how much I want to get this done. Alright. That's good. These lengthened now a bit, you know, because I brought the front end down. I do have to be careful that this doesn't hit anything over here when forks compress. That's definitely something you have to keep in mind. I may have to, you know, kind of reposition my clutch cable a little. So that's stuff to be aware of when you're moving your forks around. Washers on there. Okay, time to decode this. I don't know what. It's rubber. I don't know if it was inside the drive gear. I don't see how. I'll try and reseat it. Now, I have to show you this. Come to Papa. Alright, sorry about that. So, that's the little rubber doobob. I don't know what the heck that is. I don't remember it being part of this. Anyway, beside that, see how that's split? I don't know if you'll be able to see, but inside the drive gear, can you see in there? There's a flat prong that has to sit, there it is, has to sit, the split on the end of the cable has to sit over that. So you have to make sure it seats in properly, right? There's no oil here or anything, so I don't know why that rubber grommet would be there, but I don't think it'll hurt anything. I did some research online, but I didn't see anything about it, and it's been long enough since I purchased it that I just don't remember. I'm trying to set the tripod back up so you guys can have a better view. Sorry. Hang on. See, look, I'm tripoding. Okay. Alright. Let's get you on there now. Isn't that better? Wasn't that worth it? Huh? Huh? Quit your yelling. Alright. I've lubed my cable with some silicone based spray. Should be fine. Now, everything looks good in there. Alright. Let's put this back in. So I'm looking for the direction that tab slot is. I'm sorry, the tab is, and then I'm going to turn this slot to kind of match that. Generally, there we go. To make this easier. Another thing you can do is pull that out some, get it in there, spin it by hand until it pushes all the way in. Gosh, I don't know what the heck that is, that rubber thing. I'm just gonna get it back in there for now. Again, it's not gonna hurt anything. Alright, snugging that up by hand. Alright. And then I'm going to take my channel locks, very gently grab it. The end has ridges on it, and they kind of sit right in between the teeth of this. And just a little snugness. Nothing too crazy. It's still tightening. Alright. Now I'm snugging it up. And there you go. You don't want to go too crazy because these end cap things are so like cheap. You can deform them if you squeeze too hard or if you over tighten. Alright, that's that. Front end is lowered. The last thing I have to do is reposition the headlight. Get it in the height I want. I may even lower it a little more. And yeah, I'm going to the track. You don't need a headlight, but I'm not prepared yet to make this bike a track only bike. So that being the case, I still need a headlight. I will need to tape over that on track day, as well as take off my license plate and tape over the brake light. That's for safety, so A, people aren't looking at your brake light, and B, in case you have a crash, God forbid, all of the gods forbid, you don't have scattered debris over the track. Mirrors are going to have to come off. I have some bar end weights to put on there. Alright, so I'm gonna, I'll take care of the headlight. You guys don't have to watch that. You know, I just have to lower the ears, make sure it's square, and snug up those Allen bolts again. But that's it. Here, let's back up and take a peek. I don't know if you can see it, but I sure can. The bike used to sit just ever so much higher, and to my eye I could see it all the time. Now it's almost straight across. It's a nicer stance. I have yet to test, of course, how it handles now. That's the most important part. It could look great, but if it handles like crap, doesn't, you know, makes no point in doing it. Alright, that's that for now, and I'll have more on my track day prep videos soon. Thanks for watching, and have a good one. Bye bye. Hey, one more thing. Before I engage the brakes or move the bike, I'm just taking a little carb cleaner on a clean towel and wiping down the rotors in case I got any grease and oil from my fingers, hands, any of the work I did on those. You don't want to get that on the rotors and on your pads. So I'm cleaning those off first. Then I'll be engaging the brakes, rolling the bike forward, and cleaning the portion that's just under the calipers too. Alright, just a little tip. Alright, thanks again for watching. Have a great day. I gotta go get ready for work again. Haven't won the lotto yet. Soon maybe. Have a great one. Bye bye. Okay, quick follow-up to lowering the front end. I was concerned about maybe hitting. Guess what? I hit. I don't know if you can see that ding right there. That's from this jutting out, and this ding right here. My poor fender. Boo-hoo. That hit the spark booster. But on the other hand, it hit because coming up my driveway, there's a big hump. Don't laugh. And that's when it happened. There were a couple of speed bumps I had to go over coming home. Didn't happen there. I went over those at about 30, maybe 35. But this big bump at the end of my driveway, right there, did that. So I have some options. Options are raise the bike back up a half inch. So I lowered it a full inch. I can raise it up a half inch. Oh, by the way, I had to take the rubber caps off because they almost flew off. I don't know if I want to do that because, by the way, it handled beautifully. It just dropped right into the turns, and it was much. The front end of this is really heavy, but it felt so much lighter and effortless. I really like this position. So I don't want to do that, but I could if I had to. Another thing I can try and do, they sell this is a single splitter. It's supposed to be for a single brake line because it's double brakes now. I put a dual banjo bolt, but that lowers it about that much. Used to have, gave it away, so I could see if I could find a dual splitter. So there's two of these outlets. That'll make it about that short total. But I'm only gonna gain, I don't know, very little. And then move this too. Maybe move it lower. Maybe put it under the tank like I had originally considered, just to get it out of the way. I may end up having to do that because I don't think I have enough wire, and that's not the kind of thing you necessarily want to splice wire into. So yeah, concerns. Again, even if I get the dual splitter here, you're gonna have that, and then the head of the banjo bolt, two of them, which will come down to about there. So I'm only gonna gain what, like 3/8 of an inch. And that ding isn't very deep, so that might be enough. The other thing I can do is leave it alone, because really, how often, especially on a track, am I going to be going over big old bumps like that? Excuse me. And yeah, so like when I come home, I can just sort of stop at the front of the driveway and then push it up. Because if I'm going slowly enough, that won't hit. I got on the bike yesterday and I pushed it down and it got close, but it didn't touch. But even at like 5 miles an hour, it was a lot more force than I could put on it. Anyway, that's that. Good news is the bike was running really roughly last weekend. Cleared itself up. It was basically just some sort of debris, detritus, clog, something in the carbs in the float bowl. Okay, so add that to the list. Got more stuff going to be happening. I've bought a steering damper and bracket. I'll be installing that. My rear sets came in. Hopefully I'll have time to install those. I keep saying I'm going to take off the center stand, but damn, I love having it. Anyway, that's that. Just wanted to give you an update. Be good, have fun, ride your bikes, fix your bikes, and feel free, please, to subscribe and like and what have you. I do appreciate it, and all the good comments. Have a good one. Bye for now. Okay, really quickly, this is my solution. Simple. I moved it, I spun it, so now it's facing this way. It's different, but it's necessary, you know. And it was a quick, easy fix versus I don't want to pull the forks back out. I don't want to relocate it under the tank because I wanted to get as much air as possible. Yeah, I was thinking of maybe buying some metal forming hammers and dishing this, which I think would be neat. I've actually never seen anyone do something like that, like dishing out this section. But for the moment, that is a quick, easy fix. And hey, it's, what am I trying to say? It's race necessary. Track necessary. Ooh, sounds special. As far as this goes, I'm gonna look online about a dual splitter, but looking at the depth of the dent, it's not that deep. I used to have a low profile double banjo bolt that was, the head of it was only about a little less than half of this. Maybe if I can find that, that would easily take care of that. And one last tidbit. Okay, I think this is the last update having to do with the lowering the front end and the issues I encountered. So I told you that I moved that. I took a, I mentioned low profile banjo bolts. I looked for the double splitter. They're like $200. Get the heck out of here. No way. Low profile banjo bolt. I just basically took my air angle grinder with a coarse disc and shaved this one down. I was worried about heat and overheating this and having the brake fluid boil or something, but this never got too hot to the touch. And then I polished it up with a Scotch-Brite on the air angle grinder. So that came out great. And then I decided, executive decision after sleeping on it, I moved these back down 1/4 of an inch. So instead of a full inch up, they're 3/4 of an inch up, which I'm sure will still make a heck of a difference in the handling. I'll have to take it out and test it, but in moving that up, I'll likely have alleviated hitting anything. Also, to move that up, I had to take the front tire off again. I left the fender on for the most part, but I also I knocked the dents out with a hammer. If you look closely, it's very ripply now, but it's kind of camouflaged. You know, it looks better than just having dents. And I couldn't overdo it for fear of the chrome coming off or peeling, but it's better. And I did one more thing. I put in a new tack cable. I needed to replace my old one. And just for safety's sake, so there's no oil leakage, because this is kind of a weak spot on these bikes, I put YamaBond on the threads here. Remember, I don't know if I've uploaded the video yet, but I just recently, like a week ago, replaced the O-ring, oil seal, and fiber washer that sit in here to keep it from leaking. And then as added protection, I put YamaBond on the threads of this when I tightened it in. And then here, it might look ugly, but it's practical. I put black RTV there's a metal ferrule that comes out about here that's crimped on to this inner sheath. I coated that with black RTV, and then I took a piece of heat shrink, shrunk that down over it. I let that dry for 24 hours. And then I took 2 hose clamps, obviously, put one here on top of the ferrule and one here at the end so on top of the ferrule and towards the end of the heat shrink, and then on this side at the end of the heat shrink onto the inner casing. Snugged them down tight enough to not cut into this, but to make a seal. So now if this ever leaks from here, they tend to leak where the inner housing meets that metal ferrule. They'll get cut from moving. This hopefully will keep any oil leakage enclosed if it leaks. It's not leaking, it wasn't leaking, but it's just a preventative measure because I'm going out onto the track. and you can't have any oil leaks. All right, so that's that. I'm happy. Oh, and I lowered the headlight another 1/4 of an inch, so now it's a little bit lower than it was. I think that's the most I want to lower it. Anyway, that's that. So that's it for lowering the front end. I'll be posting more videos about other things I do to the bike to prep it for the track. Thanks for watching again, and please subscribe and like and tell your friends and write a book about it and tell some jokes. All right, thank you. Take care. Bye bye.